Hello and welcome, Exiles, to my plans for the .3, the third Edict patch for Path of Exile 2. Now, right out the gate, I know a lot of people are wondering, Lance, are you going to be updating the Lich guide? And yes, I plan to. As far as I can tell, looking through the patch notes, there was a slight nerf to ES in terms of the runes. The Iron Rune went from 25% to 18% at the top end. This shouldn't result in about like maybe a 5 to 10% ES loss at the most in terms of budget gearing, but then we also got the ability to have gear pieces that drop with extra quality or extra sockets, and I think on the high end it'll actually be technically a little bit stronger after that stuff is factored in terms of energy shield. Now outside of that, as far as I can tell looking through the patch notes, there's like nothing in terms of changes for chaos dot skills in terms of any nerfs. But there are a few buffs. Number one is the mana. Mark addressed this in the Q&A. He said he played a sorceress and he noticed that the mana was just kind of ridiculous in terms of exponential scaling. And you probably noticed this, whenever you level up your skills, it just becomes almost unaffordable and it felt bad. And he said that they addressed this. So ultimately, this should make mana sustain on the build much easier to solve, as well as Contagion got a very big quality of life buff. Now, its Contagion overall damage spread got limited a bit, but ultimately that wasn't really anything that mattered. I don't know if I even noticed a difference when I qualityed that versus not qualitying Contagion, but what I would notice is if Contagion targeted 2 extra enemies, which is what the new quality does, which should help the smoothness of guaranteeing you're always going to have a Contagion procced on a dude with Essence Drain, and the spread will be consistent. Sometimes you would shoot an Essence Drain out, it would kill the enemy, and then you'd proc Contagion after, and you wouldn't get the enemy. Now, if you proc Contagion first, it'll hit 3 enemies, and the likelihood that you Essence Drain and hit one of those enemies is very, very high. It should help a lot in terms of the consistency of getting that spread to just go off, and you get to just enjoy it, so to speak. So, that addresses the Lich. As for my personal plans, I do want to update the build, but we are waiting on, of course, the passive tree. They have not given us the new passive tree, and I am really hoping that they decide to give us that before the launch, because it's a very relevant piece of information in terms of, one, build making if you're making your own character, but also for people that want to update their guides. For example, the Lich, I would love to give you guys an updated tree based on the new tree, so it's actually like, you know, efficient and whatnot. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully we get a new tree soon. Aside from updating the guide, I have been looking through the options of things they updated and buffed. And I think so far, the leading option that I'm most excited about is doing a Blood Mage. Blood Mage got basically an extra ascendancy point. The Sanguimancy node no longer costs you 2 points. When you click Blood Mage, you get this right away as your starting passive, and then you can spend 2 points after that. So for example, a lot of times when you play a Blood Mage, you'd have this like issue where you add this extra life spend into your build and you don't have a good way to solve that early on. Now right away on that first lab, you could grab Spell Leech, for example, which instead of being a net loss in power when you click Blood Mage, it'll actually give you some survivability, some sustain, and it'll feel decent. So I'm kind of excited about the fact Blood Mage is getting an extra 2 passive points in terms of getting to click another big node, which also impacts this ascendancy and makes it quite a bit stronger than it was previously. Blood Mage was actually a fairly competitive ascendancy before this change, and that was with only 3 ascendancy points to pick because these ascendancy points are rather powerful. Now, that being said, it's getting a slight nerf to its crit, but I think that slight nerf is not going to stop it from being a very good ascendancy. So this is kind of what I'm leaning towards. There is a part of me that wants to maybe play a Demoness build or potentially do something with the new change Stormweaver. But right now I'm heavily leaning towards the Blood Mage. Haven't decided on a skill per se, but I probably would like to do something with the new infusions. I just think Blood Mage into a life stack, Wrathpith sort of angle could be very high in terms of damage, and also very good in defenses if we go for something like a Defiance. Now, these items are rare uniques, and if you remember last league, initially, these uniques just didn't really exist on trade. I believe Jonathan actually looked into this, and he said he found the fact that Astramentus was dropping once for every 45,000 Divines, which is just an insanely rare drop rate. And essentially, a lot of these higher rarity uniques just didn't exist on trade. So I didn't feel like they were really something you could build around and say, hey, look at this build guide, play it, because ultimately it was just unaffordable. Now, that being said, they made a significant drop rate increase to all of the uniques, and it does appear like they are much more abundant on the market, which gives me hope that I can maybe plan a build around some uniques, and that opens up the ability to do a life stacker and maybe look at something like Wrathfist. So that's something that excites me, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. Over the next week here, I am going to be doing basically some play tests where I'm figuring out what is a comfortable way to level. Right now, my current guess is that Essence Drain, Contagion leveling initially is still just so butter smooth that that's probably what I'm going to recommend. Even on a Blood Mage where I'm planning to swap it over to a crit-based, hit-based build, which is not Essence Drain at all. But I think the respecs with gold are very forgiving, so that puts me into the camp of thinking, okay, maybe we play Essence Drain until we get our second lab, which would then allow us to have like Spell Leech plus crit, and that could probably carry itself as a hit-based character. That's currently what I'm thinking. I'm going to do some more testing and try to feel it out, but that is the plan as it stands. All in all, looking at this patch, going into the reveal, I wasn't necessarily all that hyped about it because the 0.2 patch, it wasn't necessarily something I was very excited about. There was a lot of changes that were made that I didn't really agree with or I wasn't necessarily happy with. And the thing is, what they gave us this patch changed my mind in a fairly significant way. They addressed a lot of the things I was not necessarily happy with, which is they did a lot of effort in terms of improving crafting. I still don't think it's there yet. I think crafting needs a lot more. They did a lot in terms of improving the campaign slog, that was their big emphasis, which is getting rid of cruel, getting rid of that you have to play the same part twice and the second time it doesn't feel good. And then the thing that excites me the most, another thing, I was gonna say, the multiple support gems, that frees up some build making space, which is very nice as well. And the instant weapon swaps, which actually allows you to maybe build into those weapon swaps more creatively because you don't feel like you're paying that opportunity cost of swapping your skills. But aside from all of that, the thing that I would have logged in no matter what just to say thank you for doing this is asynchronous trade. If you've ever dealt with the trade system in PoE 2 or PoE, you would know this is a really, really big step forward, I think, in terms of the quality of life of playing a trade league, and it just has me excited. Just this alone, it's got me pumped. But the other things they did along with it, very, very happy with. So anyways, that's my current thought process. I'll probably be streaming and preparing stuff for PoE 2's launch coming next Friday, and that's the plan. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching the video. As always, thanks for watching, Exiles. Take care and peace out. Have a good one.